Here's a very interesting interview I think is going to get some people talking. PPS, an insurance company that insures professional graduates' income with a 4-year qualification, has conducted a survey on its clients. The results of the Graduate Professional Index showed that brain drain is a concern for South Africa. This information, it isn't new. Last year, former President Thabo Mbeki added his voice, pointing out that skilled professionals exiting the continent to live and work abroad every year is frightening. Well, joining us now to talk more about this in studio, we've got Motshabi Nomvete. She is the Technical Marketing Specialist at PPS. So nice to have you. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you.
All right, so let's, I suppose, look at the reason why you decided to conduct a survey like this. What made you do it?
Okay, PPS itself, like you correctly said in your introduction, is an insurance company that insures specifically graduate professionals. So our target market is your doctors, is your engineers, accountants, lawyers, those types of people. So those are people that we look to insure. And it is in our interest, as well as in the country's interest, to see what are these professionals thinking, especially if you think that those are the skills, or those are the professions, at least, where we say we have a huge skills shortage. So it is important for us to track what are they doing, what are they thinking, and more importantly, what are they planning. So, for example, one of the questions that we did ask them is, over the next 5 years, what do you see, or how do you see your profession doing? Do you have confidence that your profession will be sustainable over the next 5 years?
Okay.
Because it's important to know, are we going to retain these skills in the country?
Yeah.
Because we cannot afford to lose them.
We certainly can't, and the reality is that we are losing them.
We are losing.
And is that what the survey was showing?
The survey did show that about 47% of the people that we did survey, we surveyed some 3,500 professionals, like I said, in those professions that I have already mentioned. And of that, 47% would consider immigrating. That is almost 50% of our professionals that have considered immigration in the last year. And that is alarming.
Yeah.
And the main reasons that they cited for that, unsurprisingly, the number one factor was the political uncertainty.
Okay.
Number two was economic instability. And third, which is still there, this one has been there for quite a while, was crime itself. So those were the three main factors.
So those are the three. So it's the political uncertainty and I mean, crime coming up there is always one of the major concerns. And the future of your children. I think that's also a very big one. People talk about it all the time.
As a parent, you would be concerned that funny enough, one of the other questions, one of the reasons why some of them said they wouldn't consider immigrating is that they don't want to have to uproot their children, take them to a different country and start all over again. But having said that, they would obviously be concerned about what is the future? Do my kids have a future here? Will they have access to quality education? That is a huge concern for them. And especially, like I said, if you think of professionals, most professionals would want their kids to either follow in their tracks or to be professionals themselves in some other field.
Yeah.
So education is very important to them, and they are concerned about the quality of education. One of the other questions that we did ask was, do they believe that the quality of our maths and science is good enough? And an overwhelming majority, I think over 90% of them, came out and said that no, we really need to do something about our maths and science in the country.
Sure. And I mean, when we look back at this year, and I think one of the biggest factors that has shaped this year is what's been happening at our universities and in our education institutions, schools being burnt down, universities coming under immense challenges from students, and we understand the outcry, but at the same time the professionals that are working there are also feeling, well, look, I can't do my job. Are you finding that these are also the people that are being affected, and we're losing lecturers, doctors, and you name it, to other countries?
Most definitely. I mean, I know lecturers who are considering either early retirement or leaving the country because they're saying, we understand the students' cries, we understand their need for quality education and all of that, but now it's also unsafe for them to be on campus, for example. So many decisions are having to be made right now.
Yeah.
And if you look at also just this year alone, it's at least the second time this year, we'll be facing the possibility of a downgrade. And that, now that speaks to people. In the past, it used to be government's problem. It used to be the minister's problem. It used to be anybody else's problem. Now people are thinking, how does that affect me as a person, as a parent? How does that affect me going into retirement? How does that affect my children? How I bring up my children? So those are real factors that we really have to start digging deep into to find sustainable solutions for.
Yeah.
In order for us to keep the professionals in the country, they need to have confidence in South Africa. We need to make them proud again to be South African. But what are the things that are going to make them to be proud again to be South Africa? They need to feel safe. They need to work in a safe environment. There needs to be great opportunities for themselves and for future generations, because we're all going to think about our children. That's just how parenthood is. They need to feel that they can give back in the country. They want to be part of something bigger than themselves. And that's how they do. Funny enough, one of the questions actually, the professionals do want to give back to the community.
Yeah.
They say, I want South Africa is full of opportunities and I want to give back, but create an environment that will allow me to give back. So all those are the little things that we all have to do to keep our talent here in South Africa.
I want to look at the figures of which we were chatting a little bit about off air, and Stats SA, they did release their survey also looking at how many South Africans have left. I've managed to get it up as well, and I know you did some research this morning. So those figures that we're looking at, and this is from Stats SA, and they are very, very new. So they're saying that 102,793 people have emigrated from South Africa in the last 10 years. The most was last year, funnily enough, with 25% of that number going.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. And this year is already sitting at, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's sitting at 2016 so far, the population of immigrants is 9.7%. That was in July, and I'm sure things have changed since then.
Substantially.
So, as soon as there's political uncertainty of any kind, as soon as people start worrying, they start going. But I want to break this down, because a lot of people will be listening to this conversation and saying, yeah, it's probably those whites. They're leaving in their droves and they're going. They don't want to be here. They don't want to be a part of it. Am I being cynical, or is it across the board?
The funny thing is,
going?
There are now other stats that are being released by various companies, from your banking institutions to travel agencies to all sorts of estate agents as well. And they said that a whole lot, the demographics are changing of people who are making inquiries about leaving the country. So it is no longer just white people considering it. And like I said, the most reason being, it's a lot of younger adults with young families. And the biggest reason they would be, what about the future of my children?
Yeah.
And that has no color. That speaks to each and every one of us. So it is changing. It's no longer just white people that are considering leaving.
It's across the board.
It is across the board.
Just finally, and I know we've run out of time, everyone's telling me to wrap, but I need to ask this question. There's the Intergovernmental Authority on Development reveals that Namibia, Botswana and South Africa are the biggest beneficiaries of brain drains from other countries coming in. Does that help? Does it balance it out?
At a cost. If you think, firstly, how much money do we spend? How much investment do we put in getting our students, for example, through university? Because, that is heavily subsidized.
Yeah.
Then we lose those people, so now we need to get immigrants in to come and fill those roles. For example, we're getting doctors from Cuba, teachers from everywhere else. That comes at a huge, huge cost to the country.
Yeah.
So it is helping, but there is still a huge skill shortage. There is still huge gaps.
Yeah.
So it is somewhat closing the gap, but not nearly enough.
Not enough. Let's leave it there. Thank you for talking to us here on the program.